Let's give him 1 minute. And the recorder is recording. We're on?
That one is, I just gotta grab this one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we'll begin the meeting for the Protection and Welfare Committee for this Monday, October 9th, in the year of our Lord 2017. City Hall, room 207. It is just a couple minutes after 5. The roll call is, we are all here. Alder Dorf is here, Vice Chair, Chair Alder Scannell, and Alder Galvin. Alder Zima is in the hall doing an interview. He should be joining us very, very shortly. So, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alder Dorf, second by Alder Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes. Approval of the minutes from the September 25th, 2017 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alder Galvin, second by Alder Dorf. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Okay, number 4, consideration with possible action on a notice of change of agent for Sam's Club, number 8149 at 2470 West Mason Street. Staff.
Law Department has no objections.
We have no objections, and actually, they're a good partner with us.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. Okay.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion approved by Alder Galvin, second by Alder Dorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Before I forget, everything we do here at the committee level is just a recommendation to the full council. So nothing is finalized until it goes through council next Tuesday.
17.
This
17.
17th? Yeah, at 7 o'clock in the room next door. So, item number 5, consideration with possible action on an application for a Class B combination license by ZZQs LLC at 1035 Vanderbrack Street, currently Eagles Club. Staff,
Law Department has no objections.
We have no objections either.
you concur?
Good.
Move to approve. Oh. I'll
Motion to
second.
approve by Alder Dorf,
Second.
second by Alder Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Item number 6, consideration with possible action on an application for a Class A liquor and Class A beer license by Quick Trip Inc. at 2400 University Avenue.
Motion.
Law Department has no objections.
No objections.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Discussion with possible action on update of lead pipe removal project as previously discussed at the July 10th Protection and Welfare meeting.
May I approach
Water-
then?
Yeah. State your name and
Nancy Quirk, General Manager of the Green Bay Water Utility. I'll just give you a quick update here.
thank you, thank you.
When we spoke in July,
We're on
I
7.
believe we had over 700 homes that we still had yet to get into to determine material. As of today, we're at 353 homes. We've been knocking on doors as we can and going, as far as we can. I gave you an update on where we are with the private lead. We have 138 properties where they've gotten a letter that they can get a full replacement at full cost. We've replaced 117 of those so far. With the work that we've been doing of checking, we've identified another 38 properties that need to be in the program. Now, one of the things that I put here as the funding is that we had the $500,000 from the DNR principal forgiveness loans that go from December of 17 to December of 20. We have, you can see there, we've got over $663,000 committed for the ones that we have signatures for. That includes the $300,000 that we got from the Common Council. There are some properties in the city that they do not, the DNR funds do not apply, so the funding from the city has helped us a lot. We have applied for new funding, which we have not secured yet, but we know we're going to get in at least another $200,000. That will go from December of 17 to December of 20. I did 16 to 19 was the first one, I'm sorry, 17 to 20. So we've got another 3 years where we could be able to use these funds. So the 350 homes, what we're going to continue to do, we've got light duty people going out knocking on doors, we've got our meter changers doing, what will happen if we can't get in these is we're going to send letters and start doing meter replacements at those homes. When we do meter replacements, we give notices and we can turn their water off if they don't let us in. And so we have 3 years, well, probably 2 years where we can, get into these final homes to get the material type.
Okay.
instead of having to use a police force. And we can do that
We
by,
always try to avoid that
Yeah.
if possible. So 353 homes,
of the 2,200 that we had started with.
2,200. So these people are pretty much, for whatever reason,
They're not answering the
non-compliant.
door yet.
Okay? And you say the final solution is to do a meter replacement, which means then by law, do we have to obtain a warrant to enter?
You don't need a warrant, but you can, they have to let us in the house, it's our meter.
Well, what I'm saying is,
And-
what if they don't let us in?
Then we can turn the water off.
And then,
And then they don't have water, and they have to condemn the property, actually. The people can't live in a house without
Water,
water.
yeah.
well, I understand all
So
that.
we had a meter change-out program, and we've got one continually, and that works, we get inside the home.
So this is not going to be an added extra cost to the water utility or Green Bay by doing these meter replacements? Is something
No,
to
we'll
do?
just put them on a new schedule, because we have to change them out every 20 years.
And when do you plan on doing that? At what point? What's the line in the sand?
Probably we'll start next year, just starting, I mean, we
January, June?
probably in the spring, we'll start sending letters.
Because
Because
again,
we-
there's concern about people consuming lead, and I don't know how long we let that go.
Yeah, and we know that, right, that of the 350 homes, I put on here too, we're finding 1 to 2%. So that's like 3 to 4 homes, and I understand your concern. I mean, we will also send a letter, I guess, to these homes saying if you do have lead, to run your water, things like that. We'll-
Okay. And so your goal is, on the city side, we have just over 1,000 homes, homes that we know for sure that need to be changed out. On the private sector side, we
We're
have
sitting at 78 right now.
78,
Left.
and then potentially another 1 to 2% out of 350.
Right. So about 80 some.
That sounds pretty good, all right.
Yes.
Are they mostly located
In the downtown.
down in the downtown area? Okay. Okay.
Okay. We are slightly ahead of schedule on our lead service public side. If you can see our graph, the red is going down fast. We're working with city engineering. They just scheduled some streets. We asked them to try to coordinate some with our high lead, and we're going to be able to get rid of another 300 in lead in street replacement programs that we'll be doing water replacement over the next 2 years. So that'll help us a lot. It's almost a year off our time, so doing it with the contractors and things. So.
Alder Zimmer?
I just wanted to go back, I had a question before, just so I understood it right. So, right now, all but 225 homes have responded to our inquiries.
353, right?
353.
253.
353.
Did she
All
give
but
you that?
353.
Yeah, right
It's
on
right
the,
over there.
it's highlighted. On the
And
bottom.
I guess I just
Of
want,
the 2,200 homes that we had identified in the downtown area that were built before 1945, that we did not have information on.
and so there's been no communication whatsoever from those? They have not responded back
That's
to
correct.
letters?
We've
things
sent
like that?
postcards, we've sent letters, we've knocked on doors, we've left door hangers. There's been no response.
It just seems like a lot. You'd think most people would want to, I don't know that many hermits,
And it maybe it's a language barrier. We are going to be meeting also additionally, with my new communication director, we're going to meet with the Lung Center and the Spanish centers and talk to them about the lead program and also about, that they can drink our water and things like that. So the neighborhood associations are helping us to get some word out too, to help us. We're going to be going to Starlight tomorrow night and we'll talk about it. So as we get in there, we're asking people to help us. So.
And we have to resort right now to turning the water off to get their attention?
Well, that's our last resort that we'll start maybe next year.
So you think it might be a language thing? People that don't speak
Some
English?
of it might be, and that's where we're trying to get into those homes too that way. We've got people in the neighborhoods who have this list and they're knocking on doors as they go, if we do work in the area, and we're trying to get them as much as we can that way on a one-to-one basis. So.
So you'll report back to us next spring?
I could.
You've done this letter in Spanish already?
Yeah, we've got information, and we actually did do lead meetings. I went to the Hmong Center off of Broadway, and I also went to the church St. Wilder, okay, I'm not gonna remember the name very well.
Wilbraham?
Yeah, St. Wilbur, yeah, the Casa Alba.
Yeah. So we've been trying to reach out to, we had interpreters there that were talking about, we talked about lead with them and stuff, and we are trying to get into some of the radio stations. We are additionally trying to get additional education that way too, so.
I guess I would ask too, I have some concerns about rental property. I mean, I can understand owner occupied, they want to be a hermit, that's fine. But when we're looking at rental property where families may unknowingly be in a residence, especially with children, where there's lead present, I'd like to see us be a little more proactive, making these landlords responsible and respond to the letters that you're putting out.
Well, we do know, as far as the Hispanics population and the Hmong, that they don't like drinking our water. So I don't know, they are used to Mexico City where they can't drink water. Only in the US can you drink water like we do here. So we are working on trying to do that. I understand your concern. We'll, you know,
I mean, I guess if you have people who are on light duty, who have the time to drive out to a residence and knock on the door, I would think that they'd be able to determine to a certain extent, just by visiting that house, if it's a
if they
rental
let
unit
us
or not.
in, yes.
And I would think that then by going through the records, the city can do this very easily to determine if tax bills and that are being sent outside the city or to the resident.
We have owner and rent and bill payer information in our billing system.
Okay, well.
We send all the, at tax time, if there's an unpaid water bill, we turn it over to the tax rolls, and we go to the owner at that.
Okay, but I guess, again, my concern is, and you can say the Hmong and Hispanics tend not to drink our tap water. To me, that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
Again, I think if the landlord is collecting rent and making a profit off of this property, and he's not doing his due diligence to protect the people that are renting from him, I think we need to be more proactive with that.
What would you like, what's your suggestion?
Well, you could do this meter thing a heck of a lot sooner with rental properties and move it forward. I mean, giving them till next June, maybe August 2019, to me doesn't seem to be doing the right thing. And I think we've been trying to do the right thing. I applaud everything you've done so far, but I just think we need to be more proactive. Again, if a hermit wants to be a hermit, you know, I think you're going down the right road there. But when we're looking at rental property and we have people that could be at risk, again, with children at these developmental ages, that lead can be very detrimental to their well-being long-term. And I just, if there's something we could do with this meters to get it going faster, again, I think we should do it.
Yeah, that would be fine. I know that.
I just have a look. Have you made of these 353, have you identified them as so many single family, so many?
We haven't broken
multifamily?
it down yet, but we can do that. I just wrote it down, query remaining, and see what part are rental, what part are owner occupied. We can do
I think
that.
Alderman Galvin brings up.
I'm sorry?
I think Alderman Galvin brings up a good point. If it's a rental unit, I mean, we should be able to contact the owners. I mean,
Yeah, we've been sending a letter to the owners and the occupants.
And they haven't responded.
are the owners out of the city or
Some of them are.
somewhere in the city?
Right, because
I
with the
just find it
rent,
kind of strange. It's-
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
with the rental, you know, we can do a 24-hour notice, you know, to gain access. You know, there's different things.
Or would, do you have to do
Any
like
reason?
police
Well, like with the
action?
residents, you know, I mean, the landlord can say, we're gonna do it 24 hours, we're gonna come in, you know, I mean, so it's not like anyone's being put out.
Oh, you mean with the landlord?
The
Can you do
landlord,
that?
you know, if we get the landlord working with us on this, I think it's an easily accomplished goal. And again, you know, we can break it down, only 1% to 2% out of that 353, and out of that, if it's Hispanic and Hmong, maybe they're drinking bottled water. But even one child that could have had a difference made in their life, I think we have to do just a little bit more, and that's all I'm asking.
And I guess if we really, I hear what you're saying, and I'll do the part for the water, but, you know, the really bigger part is the lead paint. And I don't know how to address that, because, you know, I was just at a meeting in Washington DC last week where they were doing research on lead, and they took blood levels of the kids, and they did isotopes of paint and water, and all the blood that was in the kids was attributed to the paint.
I understand.
Not the water. So, I mean, it's just like, I understand what you're saying, but I want to assure you that we are working with the neighborhood groups and things to try to identify the paint and the water and get these kids out of these environments.
Right.
And we're on the Lead Coalition, we're meeting with the health department, we're doing all this stuff to try to make sure that the education gets out there to reduce lead in these kids.
And I agree with you, and I know there's been some talk at council level about ordinances regarding lead paint in rental units and things like that, and that's something I think we should probably be pursuing. And I do understand that the Brown County Health Department, all the children they've had so far in the last few years with lead poisoning came from paint. But again,
We are doing our part,
Right.
because we are accelerating, we are probably leaders in the state and sometimes in the nation. If you look at the Lead Collaborative website that's been formed post-Flint, Green Bay Water is listed. So we're doing everything we can to get these out as quickly as we can.
again, I applaud everything you've done. It's great that we're a leader in this and that we're so proactive. Again, I guess I'm just
Yeah.
pushing you to be a little
Even
bit more.
more.
If I'm pushing too hard, I apologize, but it concerns
No.
me, that's all.
I mean, we can certainly look at the landlords and see if there's some of those in those properties and see if we can use that method to get in there. I just think if the homeowner were, okay, we'll just look.
Yep.
We're trying.
Yep, yeah, oh yeah, you're doing good.
Very
You're doing
good job.
Yep.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Thank
Are
you.
some of these properties for sale?
The ones at 350?
Yeah.
No, I mean, that are vacant like, or that?
Well, vacant or for sale signs or something?
Well, because you
One of my
guys passed a
suggestions was that-
resolution, right, that they have to go in and check the service when they sell the house, right?
Mhm.
Wasn't that passed right away after Flint?
I believe we did.
I remember that.
That was
yeah.
one of our suggestions here.
Yeah,
I think they made that suggestion.
yeah, I think that was passed by the city council, because I did see that go through, so.
Okay, so. that
And they have to do
answers-
at the time of sale, they have to let us in to go check. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, we got discussion with possible action. Do we want to meet again in the spring?
For an update?
Or,
What would be good, what do you think would be a good timeline?
What's the end of construction, November, for you guys to be digging holes and doing repairs?
Well, sometimes, lately it's been going all year long, but December usually winds down. We're still doing a couple of streets right
How about
now,
an update in January,
Mather.
February?
and Webster's still going.
Since I called in November, December.
so January, February would be,
Another 3 months or so, roughly?
That would be okay.
Okay.
Well, I wonder if we could every 60 days or so get a report on, of 350, how many they've
Every
accomplished.
quarterly reports.
quarterly
I
reports?
think that's reasonable.
Well, just to know what your progress is on those 353.
Yeah.
And if there's anything else you need from us.
I mean, since, 3 months ago, we got into 350 homes, so I mean, we're whittling it down.
Yep.
Everything we've done, we've been reducing the number of homes that we still have to get into, so maybe we'll think of the landlords or something and try to get even lower, but we're making progress with everything we do. I mean, we've come a long way since 2200.
Would you need a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we receive a
No,
quarterly
that's possible
report.
action.
Yeah.
Okay,
That we
second.
receive a quarterly report updating us on all the statistics contained in this review that you have here.
And for how long?
Quarterly?
Quarterly
But just
for-
quarterly for,
Until further notice?
until further notice, sure, sure. And you don't even have to, I mean, you could just shoot us an email with the same kind of, I mean, you know.
If we feel a need that we think you need to come here, we'll let you know. But
Yep.
otherwise, just a quarterly report, I think,
Okay,
Yeah.
would
All right.
suffice.
will do.
And would you like to receive and place on file the current update?
Yes.
I would like to do that. Make a motion to receive and place on file. Do you want to second that?
Yes. Second.
Okay, motion by Alder Dorf to receive and place on file this current report, seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's received. Do we need to make a
Do we,
mo,
do we vote on that?
Make a motion to receive quarterly reports.
Reports,
on
yeah,
The
yeah.
status of the
Yeah,
properties that have not been entered yet.
so
Second.
moved by Alder Zima,
Second.
seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Item number 8. Discussion with possible action regarding an ordinance relating to animals prohibited at certain special events, including farmers market events, as previously discussed at December 25th Protection and Welfare meeting. Why don't we open the floor? I know there are some people here who want to talk on this, and they've got another meeting they got to get to, so why don't we open the floor?
Motion to open the floor?
Second.
Motion on the floor by Alder Dorr, seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is now open. Anyone who cares to speak on this?
I called into this just recently. My name is Dave Boyce, 123 South Quincy, Green Bay. And I'd like to see if there's someone who would give a general sense of the origin of this particular item before it came to this meeting, and what the common idea is about this ordinance, or you know what I mean. Where are you at so far on this issue?
Well, Dave, we're not really, we could talk about that some other, I mean, the meeting now, we're here to do the business, so whatever you can give to us right now,
Okay.
you know, we could discuss it afterwards personally, but, you know,
Okay.
maybe you want to just wait and hear what we discuss up here, and then if you have any comments, we could open the,
I think that would be more appropriate than me starting out.
okay, okay,
I
then,
feel much more comfortable with that.
sure.
Brian Johnson, representing on Broadway, 117 South Chestnut Avenue. Maybe this probably provide a little bit of background, but we are the organizers of the Wednesday night farmers market on Broadway. I think where this concern originated was related to a lot of the pets, dogs that would show up at our Wednesday night farmers market. Oftentimes we would try to enforce that, citing that there was an ordinance on the books. That was our understanding and impression. It was brought to our attention by Captain Laux of the police department that the ordinance was in fact related to farmers markets that were hosted in city parks. And of course, none of the farmers markets within the city of Green Bay currently are hosted in city parks. So that's kind of where the confusion arose. I would say that it is one of those things, working with my counterparts who may also wish to speak today. I can speak, I guess, when you look at the original ordinance, there's two of them that we're really looking at. One, of course, as you know, is the one I just referred to in the Parks Department. The other one specifically calls out certain events that are in the public domain. So I think our collective interest and feedback, and of course, we represent three organizations. There are a lot more in the city of Green Bay that may wish to have input on this, and maybe they're here to speak. It doesn't look that way, but it seems to me to make sense to allow the event organizers perhaps to have the input on whether or not they like pets. Now the downside of this is we want to be able to give the police department the tools to enforce the ordinance. I can say that in our case, even if the ordinance did allow dogs at the farmers market, we likely would not want to have that. But to preserve our organization's ability to have pets at other events is something that would be very useful for us. If you look at the existing ordinance, it specifically calls out a couple of events. I believe it calls out Arch Street and AmeriFest. I mean, there's an example of an event that doesn't even exist anymore, and probably doesn't make a lot of sense in an ordinance that's intended to have kind of some long-term shelf life, to maybe not call out specific events and rather have something that's written loosely enough to allow changes in the environment and circumstance, but strict enough to of course give our local officials the tools that they need to enforce something. So I think our thought is having a process that lets the event organizer decide if they want to have a pet-friendly event or not. But again, just having the ordinance written in such a way that it allows the police department to enforce it when there's an infraction on that rule.
Question?
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi,
Hi.
Leah Waker with the Military Avenue Business District. I also have a farmer's market, host a farmer's market in the parking lot, a private parking lot, so it probably doesn't affect the ordinance. But I think to, again, have a broader statement of having the event coordinators control whether or not animals are allowed. They are currently allowed at our market, and we have not been having any problems with it. We even had a Dog Days event this year, which got rained out twice, so we actually didn't really have many show up. It was one of those kind of years, but the community that I came from, we had a really successful Dog Days event, and people did bring pets, and it was very well received. So I think just in drafting the ordinance, again, be broad and not as specific as using the term farmer's market. Thank you.
I'm Jeff Marcus with Downtown Green Bay Incorporated and Old Main Street, and we coordinate and oversee the Saturday farmers market. And we have a policy that prohibits pets from attending the farmers market, and 90+% of the time people are compliant. I mean, we realize that people's pets are part of their family, and they walk them on the Fox River Trail and throughout the community. We've seen this event when in excess of 10,000 people come to a market. Sometimes it's somewhat congested. It is a food-related event, and we have real strong adherence to fresh produce. And it's for that reason. It's not that we don't like pets. Many of them have them and respect them. We just don't feel it's compatible at this event. We also recognize that as an event planning organization, we're just putting a small percentage of all the things that go on in the downtown and also in the community. And so we also feel that the latitude should be there. If someone wants to put on an event that's pet friendly, don't think you should need an act of Congress to do that. But so respecting the needs of the organizations that are making good things happen and pet friendly type events. But it is not a big issue at this point in time for our organization. For the most part, people do respect, and we kindly go up to them and explain to them, ask them to take their pet off to the sidewalk. In most cases, people are very cooperative.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to say something now, or?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
My belief is that pets are a big source of community unity, and I had experiences where they had like the blues concert in St. James Park, where some guy brought 2 or 3 pit bulls and heavy chains and stuff, and kind of ruined things for a lot of people. Some pets are much more innocuous than others, and maybe there could be some sort of a variance for pets that are obviously innocuous compared to pets that look like they're unstable, And I've seen the enforcement at Broadway, and sometimes people walk all over the place with a big dog and nothing happens, and other times somebody will have a little tiny pet and hop all over them, But I would like to see more events that were pet-friendly to innocuous pets, and maybe there could be a portion or an area where pets might be allowed in some of these bigger things where they're not serving open-faced sandwiches and all this other stuff, where they're just selling art-related things. And I think it draws a different kind of clientele to these events. Like a lot of people with pets are more into buying the art and really getting in conversations that are beneficial for the common good with similar people. They get to discuss their pets and stuff like that. It's a bonding thing for the community. It makes the event more memorable. I don't believe they should be able to go into the food areas or anything like that, but I had a cat that lasted me about 22 years, and I used to bring it to the park, Navarino Park, and then after a while they said no, that's probably because there were a bunch of people that were abusing it with the pit bulls and stuff, with all the little kids running around, and basically, the people that were bused there, the handicapped people, there are a lot of them in different areas, and they would just be overjoyed to see pets. You know, it would be a more major factor than whatever entertainment they had there, because they could interact, and then, like I took my cat to the Cerebral Palsy Center in different places like that, and the therapeutic value of having a pet and the community bonding with people that wouldn't otherwise have an excuse to talk to each other as a very definite cultural value to the city, just as much as painting murals on buildings or anything like that. It adds to the warmth of the community. And I'd like to see more interaction between people instead of people just showing up and wandering around and leaving. You know, the pets are a major icebreaker, like in the neighborhood walks and things like that. It's a bonding thing where sometimes there's people that would be adversarial normally, but the pets form an unforeseen bond between the average resident, you know. So I think there's something very valuable that's kind of getting trashed out. I don't believe that you should have a lot of pets wandering all over the scene, but there should be some common sense. You know, if someone violates people's personal space and stuff with their animal, like having a pit bull jump up and lick people and stuff like that, I've seen that happen to intimidate people. And that there should be an actual fine for that kind of activity right there on the spot. You know, there should be no tolerance for stuff like that. That's about extending my comments. I feel very strongly about the bonding effect of seeing people with their animals and being able to discuss if you have the same kind of an animal, you know, it forms a stronger, more healthy community.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Take a motion.
Motion to close the floor.
Second.
Motion by Alder Dorf to close the floor, second by Alder Galvin, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, yes?
So I would agree with leaving it up to the organizers of the events to determine whether they wanted it to be pet friendly or not. The only little concern I have is how would this be noticed out to people so people would know ahead of time that they weren't supposed to bring their pets. But they'd have to just do the publicity, I guess, so that people know. It makes it a little harder to enforce when it's kind of, if you want to, you can, and if you don't want to. So what do you think about that, Captain?
Well, I agree that it should be up to the organizer, because there are some pet-friendly things that happen that you probably want your pets there.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. And as far as enforcing it, I'm sure we're not going to go and issue a citation right away. But what we do is approach them, or whoever you have there, like on Broadway, you need to leave because this is a non-pet, you know, that type of thing. And if they don't leave, then it gives us something to enforce, because otherwise
Yes.
right now,
Yes.
we really don't have anything to enforce. So I agree that it should be left up to the organizer, and I don't think that we issue a citation right away.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Galvin?
I agree. I think that what the three heads of the different downtown Broadway and Military Avenue had to say makes a lot of sense. We can't anticipate what kind of public functions we're going to have in the future. And I think we need to craft an ordinance that allows the possibility of anything happening and us having the ability to either have enforcement or not have enforcement, depending upon what the event is and what the organizers would like to have. And I don't know if it's easy to do something like that. You know, obviously, it'd be up to the law department to work on that. But you know, like it was pointed out, we've got events listed that no longer exist. We've got events listed that it's no longer enforceable at. So going forward, it'd be nice to have an ordinance that 15 years down the road, someone says we're going to do A and we want pets, or we don't want pets, and we'd be able to enforce or not have to enforce. So that's where I would lean towards going.
Anyone else, or?
Well, it was kind of a complicated affair here. What historically we had no pets allowed in farmers markets, but they happened to be in city parks, and that's why it was enforced before. Well, if that concept was, what was the purpose of it at that time? Was it just because, oh, they're in a park? Was that the commanding, or was it the farmer's market didn't want it? It seems to me, and I know it's two sides to all this stuff, but I mean, somebody's got some chihuahua in their arm isn't causing a problem, but another bigger dog might defecate or whatever. My experience, I didn't see many animals at the farmer's market. But I know it seems to me you either gotta have it or not have it, and maybe people that wanna have an exception to it should apply for a permit to have it outside of the rule. Just outlaw pets except where it's applied for. And there might be a special event or something that dogs are included in it for a particular reason. I mean, I can't think of too many, but maybe that would be the way to go. I mean, are we saying it's okay? I mean, what responsibility does the city have if we say it's okay and then some pit bull, or let's forget pit bulls, there's other animals besides pit bulls that bite. We had a terrier here or something that bit 3 times. Was it a terrier? Yeah. Are we partially responsible if we permit it in the park, in the area? So unless there's somebody's having a dog show or something, I don't know. I think maybe animals and farmers markets aren't two things that really mix very well.
But
So-
Or they don't want them.
Yeah, but, and we want
Well, and I
to,
think we should outlaw it, and if somebody wants it differently because they have a different type of event, that they apply for a permit, and, you know, the department can handle it, or if they're unsure, they bring it before our committee.
We do stuff like that right now with, when a tavern or a bar comes before us and asks for permission to have an outdoor event. And it seems pretty simple, the way we do it. And I agree, I think whatever ordinance should be structured in a way that it protects the city from any liability, should a pet be allowed at it.
Well, all right, what about things like the dog walk?
Well-
Wildlife Sanctuary has the dog walk.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying we should, you know, we have to have an ordinance that
You
we
can take a permit
can,
for it.
we can, well, I don't know, but, well, and I guess I would ask law department to research what's gonna work best for the city and for the participants within the city.
A
One could
prelim
have-
idea was to kind of make it part of the special events process, so in general, animals would be prohibited at special events, like that would be a category that would be added to the current ordinance, with the exception that it could be up to the discretion of the event holder in conjunction with the approval process that's already in place for special events, because there is a special events committee that takes in the application, so if dogs or other animals are gonna be part of the event, it would be up to the discretion of the event holder in conjunction with the thoughts and approvals of the special event. So there's kind of a permitting process in place already. So it would just be one of the elements that the special events committee would be considering.
And I like
So that kind of takes
right.
care of the issue of them getting permission. So it's
So
prohibited, but then they
would
can get
include that
permission.
in their permit for a special event? Is that what you're
Right,
saying?
so if they want to have animals as part of their special event, it would be part of the approval process. It would be discussed and
And they'd have to
permitted.
show
yeah.
insurance and everything else.
Right, exactly.
Does on Broadway or downtown have to get a special event permit for the farmers markets?
I believe it's considered a special event, yeah, so they have to go through the
But they
whole
could
process.
but they do it for each event or just one time for this season? I hate to
think
see
it's
them having
just-
to come and fill out a form for every farmer's market. That would seem laborious to me.
I think it's just for one,
It's, I'm pretty sure it's for the whole season.
for the whole season.
Okay.
right?
should be
So
every
they-
other,
Right,
event.
But, well, am I hearing two different things though?
No.
One person doesn't want the dogs, and the other one wants them?
No, not at the markets, but there might be, the wording in the ordinance now is just for farmers markets and a couple other events, and I think we want to change it so that it covers all special events. And most of those events are probably going to be prohibiting pets, it sounds like. Certainly the farmer markets, it sounds like they don't want them. But there might be a special event that does, and then that could be taken care of through the special
Maybe I
events committee.
misunderstood, I thought the Broadway one.
No, not the farmers market. They do other events, so like Ignite
Military.
and other things, so that they might,
You're not talking about the Wednesday night?
no, they do not, their policy now is not to have
Okay.
pets.
Military has
Yeah.
it on private property, which I don't know if we can regulate or not through special event permit, but they want pets, or they allow pets.
Or
at
from,
theirs.
yeah, they've had, yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna put together an ordinance prohibiting
Yes, yes.
dogs
Law department.
except by permit and special event. That sounds okay.
And we take
Would
out
you
the
refer to
specific
staff?
events.
Right, so
and-
we can update the list of events and take out the ones that don't exist anymore, and then.
Well, could we, instead of listing events though, I mean, because we might be getting, who knows what's gonna come, can't we come up with some general terms that would cover any?
We can, sure, yeah, we can take out the specific events listed and then just put in special events, with the exception of up to the discretion of the event holder in conjunction with the
You can
approval
say-
process already.
Yep.
And we can link it to refer to the special events committee ordinance. So it refers to what the process is there
Yeah.
for getting the approval, and those two will be kind of connected. And then we'll have we'll keep the exception for police dogs and service dogs.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
And
How about lions?
how about ferrets? I mean,
We can do animals, just in general.
I
Yeah.
wondered.
Okay.
Is it just
Yeah.
dogs? Are we just talking
So it would
dogs?
just be prohibition of animals,
Animals.
not dogs
Right.
specifically.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. Lizards, the whole works.
I'll make a motion to refer this to staff to prepare the appropriate
Okay.
ordinance for.
Motion.
rules.
Motion by Alder Zima, second by Alder Dorf, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Will we also be cleaning up the other ordinance from parks, either doing away with it or deleting the part that doesn't apply anymore?
We can, it doesn't really,
Because that ordinance really is,
I just hate having ordinances that don't,
Sure.
on the books that aren't applicable to anything, so there's no
I mean, it's-
enforcement, and it takes up space and
Right.
it confuses people.
it's when we
Right.
looked into it and that's what we found.
right,
So
that
could really-
should be probably taken up by Parks Committee. So that should be referred as a communication to Parks Committee, and then Parks Committee can take a look at that and have the ordinance changed.
Okay. Did we vote on this? I don't remember.
Yeah, we did.
Good, so now we're on to finally, but not leastly, number 9, discussion with possible action on a request by Alderdorf to review the ordinance that allows only 2 dogs per household and consider a change to allow up to 3 dogs per household. Does staff have anything on this right now, or should we go
I'm
over
going to
it?
refer it to our expert.
Okay, does law have anything for right now, or?
Nope.
No?
Law
Okay,
has
well
nothing
then,
to add.
please step up and,
Good to see you, Logan. I was asked here, to come here tonight. I have.
Officer,
Officer Mavis,
Yeah.
Mallory Mavis, by the way, humane officer, sworn
you.
humane officer.
yep,
Well, how to get here. I'm enjoying it, by the way.
good.
I stay busy though. As far as having 3 dogs in the city, I'm in approval for that. I have several people who either email me, phone call me, will call through the police department to request to be exempt from the city's 2-dog ordinance at this time. I then go deliver a permit application, inspect the property, and then hand out neighborhood letters, and then people can send those responses back to me, obviously. And then it's obviously either approved or denied, and if it's denied, then it comes before you guys for that decision. The majority of people in the city, I have no issues with them having more than 3 dogs. I mean, they're decent people. I don't. I understand we live in close proximity in the city, and that's where this comes into play, that it doesn't become a nuisance issue. But the majority of pet owners are responsible, and I don't have any issues with them. And they're responsible. It's the people that have numerous dogs or cats, for that matter. It becomes a hoarding situation and unsanitary conditions. Usually that's when I get involved, and there are other issues that I have to address. So I'm in favor of having 3 dogs.
And we have ways to address it in other ways besides just having the three dogs, right? I mean,
Yes.
nuisance properties and stuff.
Yeah, well, animal calls qualify as nuisance calls through the police department as well. So there's, if we needed to address an issue where someone maybe had 3 dogs and it was an issue where they're not under control, they're running at large, they're defecating in neighbor's property, those are things that we can go and address, obviously, with that. But I mean, it's a lot of work for me, to be honest. I mean, with all these permits, I mean, I have the chicken licenses that I approve in the city. And then, some people are like, hey, we didn't know that we couldn't have this many dogs. And I would explain, well, it's a responsibility to find out what the animal ordinances are. But then, they want, they're law-abiding citizens. They're like, hey, well, we just want to make sure we're good to go. So then they request a permit. And usually there aren't any issues unless there are numerous animals on a property. The barking is a problem, and, or defecating and the smell and that kind of thing. And that's when we need to address it. But like I explained, there's other ordinances to address those issues. So.
Questions?
I think this one needs a little more thought.
Quick questions for Officer Mavis?
Well, that it's a lot of work for you, I can appreciate. But that's not a reason to say,
Oh,
well,
not at all.
we want to have dogs. It just, one dog is easier to control than 2, 2 is easier to control than 3, 3 is easier to control than 4. And of course, we've had meetings with, neighborhoods that are having dealings with rats. And of course, I learned unpleasantly that animal droppings are a food source for rats and all this sort of thing. So I know it becomes a problem for us here too, because they come and ask for it here, but I think when that process is there, we get a chance to look at it pretty carefully. I think that when you keep upping the number, well, somebody can have 3 Rottweilers. That might not be a happy situation. People might not be happy with 2 of them. I think maybe what we have now maybe is the right thing. And if they're going to have 3, then you look at the situation.
Questions? We can take up this discussion.
No, I didn't have any questions. No, I was just discussing.
Oh, no, we'll do that up here. Okay, no other questions then?
Well, I guess I have one other question.
No.
Where do you have the most problems? With people that have a bunch of dogs or a bunch of animals, or is it a total variety? They can have 1 animal or 5 and it doesn't make much difference?
The number 1 issue I have right now in the city is people feeding feral cats and putting out pans of cat food, which is actually attracting our rats. As far as the dogs, I have issues with unsanitary conditions with people who have maybe 6, 7 dogs, and I have issues getting into homes to try and regulate that. Normally, the people who are requesting to have 3 dogs, they're maybe 3 pugs. Obviously, it's the person walking them. I have no issues with those problems. I know right now I have a house on the east side right now that has 7 dogs, Akita dogs, very large dogs, housed in a basement. I've cited them. I've given them to the end of the month. I've written warnings. I've gone with inspections. That's where some of my issues come in, the sanitation issues. And I work very closely with the health department and housing inspection on those issues. So that's where my complaints are, and the majority of my calls are on the east side.
Yes, Alder Dorr?
So 3 dogs you haven't seen as a huge concern.
No, the majority of the pet owners who request 3 dogs, most oftentimes are someone who volunteers for the Humane Society. They themselves own 2 dogs, and they foster a 3rd dog, and it's called a foster fail, if you might. They grow attached to the dog, and they want to keep the dog. They're responsible. I have no concerns with them. It's the people that I don't have cooperation from the city, and they've already disregarded the ordinance 4 times over and have numerous dogs on site. They don't have an animal establishment license to breed, yet they breed dogs in the city. And there's, a slew of violations. Just last week, I took 5 dogs out of a basement, deplorable conditions. The house was condemned, and they thought that 5 dogs was the city limit. And I had 3 dogs in a small crate.
I have a
That's what
follow-up
I have an
question.
issue.
So Yeah, I do know that it came across an email that Los Angeles allows 3 dogs, which is a large city, and that's the norm, that's their ordinance. I'm wondering if you know of any ordinances in the cities around here, what is allowed?
Bellevue has something similar. 2 dogs is the limit. If you want to seek more, you can do that. They actually have, the neighbors that actually have to sign off on a neighborhood acceptance letter to have an additional dog. Obviously, people can send, letters to me anonymously or state where they live and who they are and what the complaint is. I take that into consideration. I've got an address on Hickory Hill on the west side that has 6 dogs. I offered a permit, they didn't send the permit back, the neighborhood sent in tons of letters. I like to be flexible with those people. Now, that circumstance was a person who had 2 dogs themselves, and a family member became ill outside the area, and now they've acquired these dogs. Now they need to rehome these dogs, obviously, because it's more than what they can care for, like you mentioned, or adequately control, obviously. So we try to work with them on that.
But other city, Appleton, I mean, we
I'm not
maybe
sure of
don't know.
Appleton. I know locally, like the county, Brown County, they have exactly what we have. They normally adopt our animal ordinances.
Okay.
Anyway, one
Yep.
more question.
Certainly.
Here it's saying allow 2 dogs per household. Is the ordinance per property, or is it per apartment?
Technically,
Or is it
it's
per
per
household?
lot, per
Per
lot.
lot.
So I can tell you right now, we are gonna have major issues. You have a lot of older homes that are sectioned into upper, lower living units. And right now, it says per lot. So you have a duplex per lot. Some people have 2 dogs in an upper unit at one property and in the lower unit at the property. It says per lot. Am I going to enforce that to a T? Legally, I should. We're gonna have major issues if I do. People are gonna be like, why can't I have my dog? The city says 2 dogs, and now you're gonna be taking away someone's dog because of their living situation. I don't see
Well,
it's
should
gonna
we
go well.
change it to household rather than lot?
I think that would be better.
Of course, that would mean a 4-unit place could have 8 dogs, right? And if we go to 3, it's 12 dogs.
Technically, yes. I mean, some older homes are sectioned into 3 living sections. Like I said, the majority of people are good pet owners. I don't, to be honest, my issue in this city, based on what I have to deal with calls, are more with cats than dogs. I have issues where people let cats run loose. They think that cats are okay to just roam the neighborhood. They don't have to be leashed until they bite or scratch someone, and then it gets very, very expensive. So really, I don't have an issue with too many dogs causing problems in the city unless they bite. But then that's when I need to address, does it fall under our dangerous dog ordinance?
Well, people are going to have 3 cats right now.
3 cats right now is the limit.
Is that per lot also?
Yes.
I'd just like to interject for the record that Alder Galvin had a prior appointment and he had to leave, so he is out of the house. So let the record show that. For the verbal one, I'm sure he didn't sneak out on the video one without getting caught. Okay, anything else? Any other questions? Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to open the floor.
Can I?
With the, okay.
It wasn't open.
Oh, right, Ms. Staff, yep. Motion open the floor by Alder Dorf.
Second.
Second by Alder Zima, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is now open, please step up. State your name and address.
My name is Noreen Ham, 407 Park Street. I have a statement or comments to make about the 3 dogs
Yep.
ordinance that's been, or 2 for years. That living in a smaller community, I just don't understand, like, who asked about it on wanting to take away the permit. Am I correct? That's what it's about. We can have 2 instead of having, if you want a 3rd dog, you have to apply for a permit.
Correct.
So this is what we're asking, it would be taken away, and I right now have 1 dog. I've had 2 dogs, and I could get a 3rd dog
Third.
without asking. All right.
Correct.
Okay. How many of these permits are asked per year. Because the way it sounds like the officer said that there was a lot that are being asked for. I see it as, well, when I'm walking my dog and people are walking two dogs, they're gonna have to walk that third dog. Dogs need exercise. If they don't get it, they need the stimulation. They can do a lot of barking, they can do a lot of damage. Our homes are 20 feet, I would say, on Park, in the city. It's very close. Everybody loves their animals, we all do. They're the greatest things that, since sliced bread. We all want to have 3. We all think everybody's responsible. We all feel that we're responsible. You can have 2 dogs, but then it's like, well, I can get 3. Where does your responsibility end? It's not, I don't see it as helping the officers control the problems with 5 dogs in a basement, or the cats. I just don't, when I read that, I was, yeah. My neighbors, they have 2 dogs, smaller dogs. I'm used to them. 2 weeks ago, they wanted to get a 3rd dog. The wife made the comment that I told my husband we would need a permit. I was thinking, oh my God, they're not gonna get that 3rd dog. Because they love these dogs and the sound of them. It's, they're not enough of a nuisance where I would be calling because they're taken back in. But at 5:30 every morning, the 2 go out after the squirrels. And all I could think about after he was this, oh my gosh, there goes number 3. Across the street, there's 2 labs. They're good dogs, but they'll go out in the back and the barking, they'll be brought in. I have a lab, I bring them in. You get 3 dogs. You get two labs, and we're walking down Dousman Street or Division Street. You're gonna have to bring 3 labs at you because dogs need to be exercised. They can't be in a small area for any amount of time. People go to work, they have jobs. Like I said, we all love our animals, and I know a lot of people that would, I'd say at least 5 that have 2 animals. If they have to, that permit keeps them responsible. Knowing they have to get a permit. Not that they're not responsible now with their animals, but it keeps them responsible and more so. Because everybody thinks they can have 3. I have 2 that sleep with me, they'll say, gee, I can have a 3rd one. And it comes down to that. And the feces, you're right. Because that's a big job keeping these yards clean. And with rodents. A friend of mine lives down on Columbia and Kellogg Street. And they've called numerous times on the home next door. They have 2 German Shepherds. They have a problem with keeping that yard clean. You can smell it. I have no qualms that they would not get a 3rd German Shepherd. Permit keeps some of the responsible people at a level of 2 that's controllable. I don't know what else you could put in, some type of ordinance on lots or how many, or if a budget has to go in to get this officer help. Maybe that's something too. So that's all.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I know that some people, when you live further out, but when you're in that city on the west side, your area, I'm in District 10, so I'm in pretty close quarters. Yeah, it concerns me. So I like to keep the people responsible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more question for Officer Davis.
Well, let's close the floor before we get
Okay.
back from staff, why don't we?
What?
Because I don't want to forget to do that.
Oh, there's
It is-
somebody? Oh, there's somebody.
I'd love to comment. You'll allow. My name's Pam Parrish. I live at 2214 Nicolay Drive, apartment 15. I am originally a resident of Beloit, Wisconsin, and that's about 36,000 people. And we allow 3 dogs. That's the ordinance. Myself, we've had 2 dogs my whole life. And when we had to turn over to get the puppies, because our other dogs we got that permit to have the 4 dogs at that time, and it worked out well. I kind of think it's crazy that there's a discussion where the officer who deals directly with this kind of work thinks it's okay, and other people, like, I think if she's the one doing that work and it's not going to take away from any of your daily lives, I don't see why it would be a question to not allow people who want to have that third dog to have that third dog. I think the people who are doing it right anyways are doing that permit, and it'll take that problems out of their lives. And it seems like that main problem is the people who have 5, 6 dogs or cats and that hoarding, and that's what she's dealing with on a daily basis anyways, and this permit's not going to change that. So I'd just like to add those 2 cents.
Good.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to consider
Can I ask one more
ordinance.
thing?
Sure.
Certainly. Floor's still open, come on up.
Okay, that's where I'm.
But we need to get you, we need to be able to get you
All right.
recorded, so.
I don't know how far Nicolay Drive is. You know, I don't know if it's further out. I'm concerned in the city. I know you live further out.
In the city.
But
But
yeah.
I mean, we're all in the city.
Mhm.
But I'm talking about our districts, the 20 feet apart from a home, I have an 8-foot driveway wide, and then there's another 4-foot, there's the home.
Bigger
All-
lots versus smaller lots.
Exactly, right. So, I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to close the floor?
Motion goes to the floor by Alder Dorf,
Second.
second by Alder Zima, all in favor?
Aye.
Floor is now closed. Yes,
And one more question.
certainly.
Officer
Yep,
Mavis.
all from me.
Officer Mavis, how many of those permits do you turn down?
To be honest, I have not turned down any. And the reason is the addresses where there is a concern, I hand out the permit. What's required of the permit application is to obtain cat or dog licenses, whatever you're wishing to be exempt from, whether it's the 2-dog limit or the 3-cat limit. We then have to have veterinary information, make sure that the animals are vaccinated with rabies vaccines, which are required by state law. And then you have to write a letter as to why you want to be exempt from the ordinance. That information then gets sent back to me, and then I review it and go door to door to talk with neighbors. I can give them the permit application, I cannot force them to fill it out.
Right.
That's where I have problems with the owners who are not responsible. I can mail them the permit application, I can email it, I can leave it in their door. I cannot force them to complete it. So the ones that are not approved are the ones that just don't even mail it back to me. I'm like, okay, you've had over a month to complete that application, you've had ample amount of time, and you have not cooperated, you now have a month to get rid of the dogs, be down to the appropriate city number.
And usually, in those cases, it's more than 3? Is that what I was
Yes.
understanding? Yes.
I'm talking 6, 7 dogs.
Right.
And I will work with them for months. I'm struggling at an address where I cite them. I've written warnings. At some point, there's got to be an end. I don't want to have to see someone's dogs. And then they sit at the Humane Society as evidence for months on end.
Mhm.
It's not good either.
Thank you.
But yeah, the majority of the time, it's no problem.
Well, I
Yep.
brought this forward because constituents asked me to bring it forward, and I don't think having 3 dogs per household is a problem. I think we should change the ordinance 2 per household. I think 3 cats and 3 dogs, have dog and cat parity might be a good thing. And I think that I would like to make a motion that we ask for an ordinance to be drafted that would allow up to 3 dogs per household, keep it at 3 cats per household, and take out the lot part of it so that it's per household instead of per lot.
Well, I'll second it for discussion.
I just going to support that motion, Mr. Chairman. I think we're just asking for more trouble. We have a permitting system that allows for exceptions for those cases that we know are not problematic, and they have to interact with their neighbors and get opinions of the neighbors, and I think it's a good system. I think it's an excellent system. But how many do we get before us every year? Maybe some years not so many, some years, what a big year is, what, 10, 12, 15 of them?
Permits for 3 dogs, to have 3 animals?
Yeah.
With, how about how many
They
permits?
come before us, don't they?
No,
No,
No.
not to go,
not
No.
anymore, they used to.
If they're denied, then they come before you.
yeah.
I get requests weekly. Weekly. I would have to look at how many, but yes, I received an email for one to get approved just a couple of days ago. And then I've got about a stack that I have to go through.
I think we should go back to the old system. They all got to come through here. And, some of them, when it's just 3 chihuahuas or something, these go pretty fast. Others, I think you're just asking for, more animals in the city. And it's just asking for more problems. And now it's okay for 3? Man, that means there's 3 German Shepherds, 3 Rottweilers, and there's the only way it's going to be any, and it's more work if you got to go out and try to cite them because they're causing too much trouble. I don't know. I just think it's asking for trouble. Maybe other people have a different opinion, but I couldn't support going from 2 to 3. We have a system that allows us to go to 3 with recognition from our department. I was wondering why we didn't get so many anymore, but
I've
I
seen
don't,
quite a few.
I don't think it was from before, but now the permitting must be really even simple. I mean, what do you use as your guide?
I go out there and send out neighborhood letters. I go door to door, talk to all the neighbors. They can send back some feedback of what the issues are, whether they have concerns, whether they agree to it, whether they object to it, why they object to it.
It's a lot of legwork. Yeah.
But, it's important to me because I want peace in the neighborhoods. This resident says that, she doesn't want to hear barking. Okay, I understand that. And so that's important to me. Do we have a barking issue? I've learned that some people maybe are not as tolerant of a dog just barking a little bit. I had a gentleman call me and he said, well, I have a barking dog problem in my neighborhood, but then he provided 6 different addresses around him. And I'm like, well, that to me kind of maybe says that maybe you're not as tolerant, or is it a barking issue where, yes, the dog barks nonstop, and that's something that I want to address. If we have a barking dog issue at a house, maybe they don't need a permit. You know what I mean? Maybe it needs to be denied, and so that would be something I would deny a permit for. But then if there's an issue with a house having 3 dogs and the barking issue is a problem, well, maybe, a citation would correct things and they'd be more responsible with that for that
How many
violation.
requests a month do you get?
I probably get at least 2 requests a week,
So you're getting 5 to 10 a month,
roughly,
100 a
depending.
year. When they used to have to come before this committee, I think it made them think twice about whether they wanted to have 3 dogs or not. And, because I never remember doing that many. I mean, they came in spurts and stuff like that, but it seemed to me, historically, if you had 25 to 50 a year that came before the committee, that was a lot. And I think maybe we ought to reconsider, just being administratively, because, she's got too much work. She just can't go about it. It becomes more lax in the enforcement. If they got to come here, they'll think twice about it. So I don't know. I think we should put that back on the agenda, review the whole ordinance, not only the 2 or 3. And, I'd feel better about I'm not going to feel better about 3 automatic, no matter what, I don't think. People have 3 or even 4, but those are very exceptional situations. And I don't know, I really think we ought to review the whole ordinance and probably retract this business if they could just get it by a permit. If they gotta come before us, and they'll think twice about it. That might take a little off your workload too.
I'm not sure that, because I would still want her to do the footwork, so we have the information. I mean, is there a
But-
problem with the
But
neighborhood?
if people had to come here, they'd think twice about even asking for the permit.
I guess my concern with this is the people who are coming forward and requesting the permit are good, honest people, who, they're responsible, they go out, they walk their dogs, they exercise their dogs, they pick up after their dogs. There's no concerns. It's the people that already are triple the number of dogs what they should be. They're hiding them in a basement, and then I get called on a rescue call and find all these animals in a basement in deplorable conditions. And it's no different than maybe, a household having 2 kids. Well, they think that's manageable, and then there's a household that has 5 children, and they just run wild, and there's no control. Maybe a household has 2 dogs and, or 3 dogs, and they're adequately able to control them, and then I've got a house that has 6 dogs, and there's no control. The problems that I have are the people that leave the animals in the basement. They don't get let out of a kennel. They bark, they cry, they're sick, and they don't even get walked. They don't even see the light of day. Those are
whole
horrible.
different cases though. And those people aren't asking for the permits anyway.
But those are the people I have the issues with, because they have like 7 dogs. And they're not requesting the permit because they already think that they're in compliance with the city ordinance.
I think 2 is enough. But anyway, that's just my opinion.
I'm at 6s and 7s. I think, I think permitting, I think if we go just automatic to allow 3, and then there's a problem, it's much easier, I think, to allow for 3 dogs than to have to take a dog away. That's much more problematic, in my mind. But so the people you are dealing with now with permitting are the responsible ones. If we open this up to 3, anyone can do it, and so people who are not responsible are gonna have 3, well, I don't know.
Exactly. They'll have,
But they're gonna have it anyway. If they're not asking for, they're gonna have it
That's
anyway.
That's what I'm running into.
Right.
People who don't have an animal establishment license and they're breeding dogs, they're not vaccinated, that's against state law. The animals are sitting in feces. I mean, there's numerous violations, but then I go and cite for those specific ordinance violations.
Well, any other discussion? Okay, well, I think come council, I may change my mind, but for now, I'll support this. I'm gonna think about it some more. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
no.
No, so that passes 2-1. All Zima voting no.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn by Ozima.
Second.
Second by Elderdorf. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. And I don't have my noisemaker with me.
So what we're gonna do is, they're gonna draft, it's gonna come back here anyway.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
It's not really, I mean, it could go to council, but it's gonna come back here anyway.
It was referred to staff.
Staff.
Refer
Yep.
to staff.
How are we doing on chickens?
Yeah, how are we doing on chickens?
I got a lot of people who want chickens too.
Yep.
Yep.
Appleton allows 3 dogs and a maximum of 2 rabbits.
Appleton.
How many chickens?